In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the correct electrical connection for your in-home pottery kiln. Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Aaron. I'm an owner of Kinsman Electric and I have almost 10 years experience in the industry, taking our company from building homes to hotels and everything in between. This channel is dedicated to you, the viewer, for me to be a guide with your electrical questions and drive you towards electrical solutions. So the reason we actually made this video is I had a very interesting job here recently where a customer came to us and asked us to install her pottery kiln in her residence. And so I thought I'd be able to share with you kind of the steps we go through when installing these type of appliances. Now, a pottery kiln is a very specific thing, but this actually applies to all appliances or pieces of equipment. The first thing that I actually took a look at was the breaker size. And I'll go through that with you guys. The next would be wire size to go along with that. And then the last thing would be the manufacturer's specifications for safety. Not all of equipment can go anywhere in a residence. We need to make sure we follow those parameters to keep the homeowner safe. Number one is breaker size. Now, when you're looking at a piece of equipment, whether you're buying it online, you haven't purchased it yet, or you may already have it in hand, there's two ways that you can find out the amperage to determine the breaker size. So if you're purchasing online, you can go online to the website, choose the correct voltage that you're going to be getting to match what you have at your home. Typically for a residence, it's a single phase, 240 volts. And then look on the specifications for the overall amperage. Amperages and that specific number is what I'm looking for. And in her case, I was able to find and go through on the nameplate of the kiln itself, because she already had it, and see that on the nameplate that this kiln required 48 amps. So that is the very first piece of information I looked for and able to determine the breaker size. So now that I have that information, I can take that and compare it to the NEC code. Now for electricians, we need to make sure we follow the NEC 80% rule. So 48 amps is the maximum amperage that this kiln is going to operate on. However, the breaker that it's on has to be higher than that, because 48 amps needs to only be 80% of the overall amperage that that breaker can take. So if you do the math, 80% of a 60 amp breaker is 48. So it actually worked out perfectly. So now I actually solved that part of the puzzle of what breaker size it needed to be. It's going to be 60 amps. Well, I have your breaker size figured out, but next I need to figure out what kind of wire size I need to match that. So for typical residential homes, you're going to use a type of wire called Romex. Classification of that would be NMB. An NMB wire is rated when we're trying to size for it in a 60 degrees Celsius. So it's a lot of information you don't need to know, but if you go down the chart, it's going to show us how much amperage each type of wire is rated for. So a number 14 wire will be for 15 amps, a number 12 wire will be for 20 amps, number 10, 30, all the way down. So we actually followed this chart and I got to a number 4 size wire for the amperage required for this kiln. Now the number 4 size wire is actually rated for 70 amps, but it's better that the wire is oversized for safety, because what we're trying to be, the whole reason for safety here is that we're trying to prevent heat and resistance, because that's going to cause a fire. So in this case, we have the 60 amp breaker determined, and next now we have the size wire. It's going to be number 4. And because it's a 240 volt system, it'll be a 4-3 wire Romex that I was going to run from this woman's panel to her receptacle location. So the last thing we need to take into consideration is location and safety. We got the breaker, we've got the size wire, but where do we need to put this thing? So I did some research before we actually installed this receptacle for the customer, but she had some experience already and she'd had it for a while. So she was taking it from one location to the other. But based on my research, you need to keep it 12 to 18 inches from a wall so that the wall or anything on the wall isn't going to get too hot. And then they typically would like you to keep it in some sort of garage or a basement space on some sort of concrete floor. They also mentioned that one thing you need to keep into consideration is ventilation. So if you have a specific room you're going to put this in, then you're going to want to probably put in a ventilation fan, which will also take some electrical components as well, just to get that heat out of there, so that number one, it's not heating up the whole room. so miserable that you don't want to be in there, for one, and second, just to mitigate those safety and risk hazards by having too much heat in there as well. So those are the three things that you need to keep in mind when buying or installing your own pottery kiln. Number one, it's breaker size. The second one would be the wire size. And lastly, the safety and location factors. So I hope this helps. And if you have any pottery kiln or any other type of equipment that you need installed, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to take care of that for you. Thanks.